Look at me! I'm small, fast, with sleek, shiny skin. Of course dinosaurs are closest to my family.
Nonsense! I'm huge with razor-sharp fangs. Dinosaurs must be my closest kin.
Excuse me, gentlemen, but science has spoken. I am the one and only direct descendant of the dinosaurs.
What? That tiny bird?
bird?
It might sound absurd, but almost everything people think they know about dinosaurs is wrong. When most imagine a dinosaur, they picture something scaly like a crocodile, or smooth-skinned like a lizard. But in truth, the closest relatives of dinosaurs are birds. Dinosaurs never really went extinct. Only the ones that couldn't fly did. So throw that old myth away. Strange as it sounds, birds are technically reptiles. So, if all birds are dinosaurs, does that mean all dinosaurs looked like birds? Not quite. Birds evolved from the theropods, just one of 3 main branches on the dinosaur family tree. That means, while some dinosaurs definitely looked bird-like, something we can actually see preserved in fossils and even trapped in amber, others looked completely different. In this video, I'm going to point out the 14 biggest misconceptions you may have always believed. That was the first one, and the next one is definitely something you've come across before. You ever go on TikTok and see something about how Spinosaurus sounded like this? The thing is, they didn't actually sound like that at all. That's just the slowed-down call of a diving bird. In reality, every dinosaur sound you've ever heard is pure nonsense. Truth is, we have no idea what most dinosaurs sounded like. Except one, Parasaurolophus. You see that giant crest sticking out of its skull? Well, it was filled with tubes and airways. So scientists 3D modeled it, pushed air through, and it sounded like this. Yeah, we're 99% sure this dinosaur sounded like an air horn. Pretty cool nonetheless. Then again, that's not the only lie you've been told by media. Don't move. You can't see us if we don't move.
Somebody.
Yeah, that's just totally wrong too. T-Rex had the biggest eyes of any land predator. And I know size isn't everything. At least that's what I tell myself. Though for T-Rex, it did actually make a difference. Its vision was estimated to be up to 13 times sharper than yours. With forward-facing eyes and incredible depth perception, if you were in front of it, even from miles away, it was definitely going to see you. They look this short, must be useless, right? Well, if you still think that, you're completely wrong. Everyone loves to joke that T-Rex had weak, tiny arms. But the truth is, they were incredibly strong. Yes, they were only about 1 meter long, roughly the length of your own arm, but packed with enough muscle to curl over 400 pounds. Clearly, those funny-looking arms were anything but useless. The famous pterosaur wasn't actually a dinosaur. It was simply a flying reptile, a close relative of dinosaurs, but belonging to a different evolutionary branch. The large plates on the back of Stegosaurus were once thought to be armor, but in reality, they were too thin and fragile for defense. Another hypothesis suggests they served a function in regulating body temperature. When people think of dinosaurs, most imagine massive giants, their footsteps shaking the ground. But the truth is, not all of them were that large. Some of the smallest dinosaurs ever discovered were the bee hummingbirds, measuring only about 5 centimeters long. Though, if we're talking non-avian, you got stuff like Microaptor, about the size of a crow and barely a couple pounds. We got really lucky with Microaptor too. It lived in the perfect environment to fossilize. And this thing lived over 100 million years ago. But here's the thing. Most dinosaurs didn't live in conditions like that. Now, say you've got some pinky-sized bone from a tiny dinosaur, and an 8-foot femur from an Argentinosaurus. Which one's more likely to survive 70 million years underground? Exactly. That's called preservation bias. Larger bones fossilize more easily, so we find them more often. That also means we're underestimating the number of small dinosaurs that actually lived on Earth. And considering we've probably discovered less than 1% of all dinosaur species, who knows what other kinds might still be out there? Even so, dinosaur fossils aren't as rare as many people think, so long as you're in the right place. Take the Hell Creek Formation, for example. If you know what to look for, you could walk just a few minutes and stumble across a fossil fragment. How complete it is, though, that's another story. If you know what to look for, you could walk just a few minutes and stumble across a fossil fragment. How complete it is, though, that's another story. When a dinosaur died, its body was usually scavenged. So to find one that wasn't eaten, that got perfectly buried, and then remained intact for millions of years while the Earth shifted, that's the real miracle. However, a lot of those animals weren't dinosaurs at all. Let's start with the ocean. Ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, mosasaurs. Not dinosaurs. They're part of their own weird aquatic branches on the reptilian family tree. Speaking of animals that aren't dinosaurs, let's talk mammals. You always hear that mammals back then were small, helpless, and lived in holes in the ground. But some of them actually ate the dinosaurs. Take Repenomamus, a badger-sized mammal we know for a fact had a taste for dinosaur meat. Because one fossil was found with a baby Psittacosaurus in its stomach. So, some mammals were already out here devouring dinosaurs long before we turned them into nuggets. But that doesn't mean dinosaurs were losing. The idea that mammals took over because dinosaurs were slow or outdated. Wrong. Dinosaurs were some of the most well-adapted animals ever, ruling Earth 165 million years, nearly 3 times longer than mammals. In fact, they were around so long that we live closer to T-Rex than T-Rex did to Stegosaurus. And yes, dinosaurs were actually more advanced in many ways, especially their breathing. While mammals breathe in and out through the same lungs, dinosaurs and modern birds had a different setup. Air sacs spread throughout their bodies kept fresh oxygen flowing even while exhaling. In fact, dinosaurs' overspecialization may have been part of what led to their downfall. While our smaller, more agile ancestors survived. And yet, despite all their advantages, their entire existence supposedly ended in a single afternoon. An asteroid hits Earth and, boom, dinosaurs gone. Well, we already know that's at least a little wrong because, and even for the non-avian ones, they didn't vanish overnight. It might have taken decades, maybe even thousands of years for the last of them to die out. Look at the mammoths of Wrangel Island. Most mammoths went extinct around 10 to 14,000 years ago. But a small group survived in isolation until just 4,000 years ago, around the same time the pyramids were being built. This same thing could have happened with a few dinosaur species, holding on in small pockets before eventually disappearing from genetic collapse, bad luck, or another disaster. But what's even stranger is that, as terrifying as it sounds, this wasn't even the worst extinction Earth has ever faced. There was an earlier catastrophe, one that nearly wiped everything out. The most devastating extinction struck about 252 million years ago, during the Permi-Trias event. It wiped out more than 90% of all species on Earth, both on land and in the oceans. After all the misunderstandings about dinosaurs, the biggest lesson is clear. Don't blindly trust movies or rumors, because science always delivers plot twists, even more surprising than Hollywood. And if Jurassic Park were real, you'd probably already need to sign up for a Run from T-Rex insurance plan. So now, save this channel from flopping. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next scientific plot twists.